Plus, it's been great re-listening to this album and hearing it all over TikTok as everyone's getting prepared for Tyler's next and longer-awaited project, which interestingly seems to be straying from that neo-soul pop sound of Igor and Flower Boy and going back to the more abrasive, edgy, rough sound of his mid-career albums like Wolf and Cherry Bomb. Now, to keep things oddly thematically linked, this next album is also one from my 21st birthday, and also the next two albums I shall show should be in the of my two only current jazz vinyls. The Blue Note Reimagined album, easily one of my favourite releases from 2020, because that was the year where I was truly getting into jazz for the first time, because I listened to bits and pieces throughout 2019, stuff like the new releases from Snarky Puppy and The Comet Is Coming, and some classics like Charles Mingus, like when I was going through some of the albums that inspired a young David Bowie in the 60s. But 2020 was the year I truly properly got into it, specifically via the classic Blue Note albums from the late 50s and 1960s, and then the recent UK jazz scene. And so, what could be more perfect than an album that fuses those two things together, long anticipated, as they released, I think about like 5 singles in the build-up to it before we got the full thing. And right away, love the album cover, because Blue Note was renowned for striking album covers, which partly due to how they really did it, how well they used abstract shapes and minimalism to make more like to the point yet stylish images, which are like abstract but striking. And this takes the abstract aspect and does a really great job at recreating it. But also the great additional detail that I really love on like the vinyl edition of it, being the back cover, where it gets to show you each of the multiple artists involved, because this is thoroughly a collaborative venture. And the sheer talent of the UK jazz scene, and also like the just current soul artists at the moment, is just fantastic. Georgia Smith, Ezra Collective, Poppy Judah, Jordan Rakai, and one of my more recent favourites, Alpha Mist, one of the most recently hyper-acclaimed ones, Nubie Garcia. And probably the king of the entire UK jazz scene, Shabaka Hutchings, previously known for The Sons of Kemet and The Comet Is Coming. As we see on the interior, that's sort of like enlarged fantastic greatness. We get to see like each of all the multiple artists behind the album, and not only them themselves, but also them at work in the process of recording the album. Just little details like that, I feel, make the album feel a lot more personable, like when on a lot of like album liner notes where it shows the artist at work in the studio, sort of has like a humbling vibe to it. And the other of my two jazz albums, Lady Sings the Blues by Billie Holiday. Now, normally I refrain from buying represses of albums, either like a sleek brand new, or a rare first edition or very early edition. But when it comes to jazz albums, it's pretty much impossible to find first editions, particularly in the UK, since all the first presses would have been like entirely within America. And even then, there's like decades worth of hugely passionate jazz fans who would have already lapped those up. So I just sort of like, it's such a low chance of finding it that I just really wanted to have a great classic jazz album on vinyl, because they sometimes say that certain albums were meant to be heard on vinyl, which is something I'm sort of doubtful. Like when people say like music automatically sounds better on vinyl, I am quite doubtful, because from once you got to the 90s, albums would have been more specifically recorded for the CD format, and obviously in the past 20 years recorded for the digital format. But classic jazz is one of the few ones that I think that's actually thoroughly true. Like even when you hear it on digital platforms like Spotify and other streaming services, they still leave in that classic crackle, or just the way they recorded it was very clearly meant for the vinyl and doesn't feel like it can be captured on a streaming service in quite the same way, because even when it's on there, it still sounds like someone just put on a microphone and recorded the sound of the vinyl. And also just the other great thing I love about jazz vinyls, the fact that they have like almost like a mini history or a mini like hype paragraph to get you like ready and excited to listen to the album. But yeah, absolutely perfect coffee relaxation album, this one, yet also really like chilling and emotional and vivid of the time, which is like the odd two tones it goes through, because you have all the laid back stuff like Lady Sings the Blues and God Bless the Child and Good Morning Heartache, but then the really harrowing, emotional, incredible stuff like Strange Fruit also mixed in there. So a definite one to have on vinyl. If you spot a first edition of this, instantly grab it and lap it up. Good luck to you for finding one of them. It's also the 2020 Thundercat album, It Is What It Is, which, as you know, is one of my all-time favourite albums of 2020, as you've seen from like my best albums of 2020 video. And this one being another great one because it's also got like a great coloured vinyl as well, like a really sleek red colour, which is like one I don't see enough when it comes to coloured vinyls. But yeah, as of like both Tyler the Creator and Furikuri was another album I got in my sort of Adult Swim phase, because this was Thundercat seems to be enough one of those artists that is frequently involved with the network. Like I think it was one of the main headline acts that performed at the last Adult Swim festival. And then just got this like neat little extra feature like the slider, which I'm sometimes mixed on little extra features like this, like the one that was on the Furikuri album, because sometimes they can just feel like a little bit of a pain, like with they like in a certain position where you have to try and awkwardly slip them off to get the album out. But this one seems pretty cool, a little bit loose, but yeah, just kind of a nice little extra feature. Actually, it is really loose. Briefly being distracted by the sight of tiny fluffy seagull chicks barely balancing on this roof, but in a cute waddling sort of way. Welcome to summer. Now, easily my favourite place for record shopping is Brighton. Like, there's a fantastic one called Resident Records, where they have really friendly and passionate staff, where I got my Thundercat and the Evangelion album, where they have some great, like, indie exclusives and some really great, like, niche weird stuff, like, well, not weird so much, but, well, they do have weird stuff, but also, like, more niche stuff, like city pop and anime soundtracks and stuff like that, all in there. Instantly great shop. Got this one from Cult Hero, which also does, like, tons of great posters. I said some indie shops is one of the good place to get cheap and good quality posters, and that is one of them. They really help decorate my uni dorm. And also one of my favourites, which I always get on the way back to the station, the train station, is Off the Tracks. And the most recent one I got from there, David Bowie, The Next Day. And I know the album cover for this was quite divisive for people. Some people thought it was quite lazy, but I really like it. I think it's a great example of, as of the Blue Note album covers, abstract shapes and minimalism to make a really like striking minimal image with a bright, bright white square. Also, I felt like I thoroughly get what Bowie was going for with this album cover, because the whole point of this album was him revisiting the past, but in a new way that sort of subverted it. Like, Where Are We Now is him talking about 70s Berlin, but now as an older man looking back on his memories of when he was younger there and the state of the city now. So looking back on the past, but in a way that subverts it, and that's very much what you get here. We're just like reutilising the cover for Heroes, but with like new text put over it to blur it and just alter it in some sort of like postmodern way. Like generally that's one thing that makes a lot of great album covers. Abstract minimalism and postmodernism combined, but just like how gorgeous the artwork is inside of all like the hyper bright colours and everything like that. Like I definitely feel this album gets very much overshadowed because of Black Star. Like I think Black Star is absolutely incredible, but I think this has some of Bowie's absolute greatest as well, particularly just how emotional Where Are We Now is, along with some tracks that I think are underrated gems, such as the suitably dark Valentine's Day, the cosmically catchy Dancing Out in Space, so just all sorts of ones like that, which sort of very much capture some of the great essence of Bowie's 70s stuff, but in a way that feels very much of the 2013 indie scene. And so there you have it. After just constantly seeing my wall for ages and me occasionally just popping some up, you've now had a first thorough look into my vinyl collection with all my most recent releases and all the stories and opinions and great record shops and places that go with them. And I just hope you enjoyed this first tour into it. So if you want me to do more videos like this, more record collection explorations, do comment so below. But definitely put some stuff in the comments for this video because, as you're probably all aware, well, I sound like it's a big thing, but I've recently come to over 100 subscribers on this channel recently, so I shall soon be doing a 100 subscriber special. The theme? I review your favourite albums. So in the comments below, comment if you'd like to see whether or not you'd like to see more of these videos, and then comment the name of your all-time favourite album, and I shall collect them up and get them ready for that next majorly topic-based video. Thanks for watching, do subscribe, and just come up for a nice cup of tea and a chat, as long as it's all about music. Thank you!